Do I need to change my social media usage? Am I fine? Is this something I'm going to come back to, think about later? The world has changed with how much of people's lives and interactions are happening on these digital platforms. And so it's something that we can't avoid, especially those of us who really are looking to develop ourselves and are looking to continue to improve the way we feel and to improve the way we think and to have clarity. This whole subject really requires that you be honest with yourself.
You're watching Developing Potential with Diana Keuilian.
Hi, friends. Welcome back. Today, we're talking about a subject that's a little touchy for me and maybe for you as well. We're talking about social media and mental health. And then also, we're going to touch on FOMO versus JOMO. If you don't know what JOMO is, don't worry, we're going to get into it. So, social media. So, for me, my generation, in my early 40s, there wasn't any social media when I was growing up. It was kind of this phenomenon that started kind of when I was in college and then in my early 20s, like, oh, Facebook, cool. And I kind of jumped on board like everyone else. And I've had my ups and downs with social. I'm even feeling uncomfortable right now talking about it. This is how powerful this thing is in our lives. But social media is something for me that I've dabbled with it. I built a recipe, business with it in the past. I took a break from it for a while, and then I came back and did things related to business on it, and then started to share personally. And then again, I'm kind of in this time of taking a break from it and stepping back. And a big reason for that for me is being able to link, even just looking at the icon of the app on my phone, with feelings of anxiety. And the research is out there, folks, and it's a really well-known fact that social media usage is correlated with increased anxiety and increased depression. And there's so many reasons for that, which we will get into some of it. But I think the biggest thing here is really being in touch with your own experience. Because for some people, social media is maybe something they could take it or leave it. When they open it, they enjoy it. Maybe they like sharing with the people that they're friends with, and it's a positive experience. And so I don't want to go into this episode saying like social media is horrible and no one should use it. This is really more about being in touch with yourself and your own mental health and tying the two together, right? Tying your time spent on social media with your experience of anxiety, depression, or just overall mental well-being, right? Mental, emotional well-being. And so getting in touch with your own experience. So why is social media tied with increased depression and increased anxiety? One of the main reasons, one of the big ones, is comparison, right? And I'm sure you've had this experience. You're scrolling social media and you're looking at these, polished, beautiful posts that people put up. And in the back of our mind, or maybe even in the front of your mind, you're comparing yourself to this person. And we do this even though we know that there's filters and there's editing and there's staged photos, even though we are so well aware that what's put up on social media is really not the whole truth. But as we look and as we scroll, the critic in our mind, that little part of ourselves that doubts our own value, our own worth, our own experience, we start to feel a little less than. And this is one of my reasons for, at this time in my life, really not spending time on social media, is the tendency to compare myself to other people and to look at what other people are doing and posting and just feeling like, man, that looks cool. or I should be doing that, or I should have accomplished that. And so this can be a really, really negative thing. Now, the flip side is maybe you have a lot of people that you follow that motivate you. So your experience might be different. Your experience might be that when you look at others who are doing well, they're on that great vacation, they've made this big achievement in their life and they're sharing it with the world. You might look at that and get charged up, get fired up to do something yourself. And you might take away from it just positive energy as opposed to feeling bad about yourself. So again, tapping into noticing how you're responding. Okay, so as we really go into these different ways that social media can be a negative experience, I'm really inviting you to notice your own experience and your own reaction to social media. Now, oftentimes, scrolling social media can be such a habit. And again, habits are things that we just do. It's part of how you live your life. And so you may not even take the time to notice what's happening emotionally as you're scrolling, or to notice what your mind is doing as you're looking at other people's lives, right? So taking this time to really become a detective and to investigate, like, how do I respond? Linking your mood and your thoughts with your time on social media. So this takes some intention to do. Okay, another reason that social media usage can be linked to increased anxiety and depression are negative comments from other people. Now, I feel like if you've posted anything on social media, you've probably experienced some negative comments from others. And this is something that I have experienced for sure multiple times. And, different negative comments hit differently. And sometimes negative comments can really cut deep. And, as adults, it's easier to deal with this kind of situation. Maybe it's still going to impact what we post, how much we share, or really our feelings towards social media. But when we look at the younger generation, specifically looking at adolescents and kids that are still developing, and they're going through this transformation of, turning from a child into an adult, and they're figuring themselves out. And they're also at a time when they are more negative with one another, than most adults are with one another. And so it's such a vulnerable state. These adolescents are in such a vulnerable state. And when they're getting negative comments, and there's the whole issue of cyberbullying that takes place, where back when I was a kid, there might be that kid on the playground that's a bully to you, but once you go home, you're safe, you're home. And as it's well known that today's kids, today's youth, they can't escape these negative comments and these things that happen on social media. And so this is a real big part of why social media can really increase anxiety and depression is, the negative people out there taking shots at you. The kind of the flip side of this getting negative comments is looking for positive comments, right? Looking for any comments, maybe. Putting yourself out there and trying to feel relevant in this digital world, and maybe comparing how many comments, likes, all of those things that others get compared to yourself. And so we can fall into this trap of looking for this external affirmation through this channel of social media. And when it's not forthcoming, when we don't get it, when you put up the post that you think is great and you only get 2 likes or whatever the case may be, and you walk away from that feeling bad about yourself, right? Measuring your value and your worth up against the reaction and the attention that you get on social media. So this is something that's easy to fall into this trap. And when you get some attention, feeling like you need to maintain that level of attention that you're getting from others. So this is part of the dynamic that kind of goes into social media usage really deteriorating our mental health. Okay, impacting sleep. So the more time, this is statistically, the more time that we spend on social media apps, the less sleep we get and the less restful sleep we get. And this is really most of the time due to the fact that social media scrolling is happening when you're in bed. Maybe instead of doing like a calming routine to prepare yourself for like a good night's sleep, where you're kind of like clearing your mind and clearing your emotions of the day and getting ready to settle in, you're scrolling social media. And scrolling social media, you're really opening your psyche to it's almost like Russian roulette. Like, what am I going to see and what is it going to stir up in me, right? And so doing this before you sleep, or perhaps doing this right when you wake up in the bed, can really lead to less restful sleep. And we know that getting enough sleep every night is so vital, not only to our health, our physical health, but our mental and emotional health really starts with having good rest. So this is a way that social media can kind of get in there and start deteriorating our mental, emotional health. Another thing that happens with increased social media use is you're less present in the room that you're in. You're less present with the people who are right in front of you. And when we start to really worry about how we're representing ourselves online, which can be very curated and it can be very, edited, and we can make it as shiny as we want, we kind of start to not pay attention to actual life that's happening in front of us and the connection to real humans in the room with us starts to slide. And, just as humans, as vital beings, we need to connect with other humans, and that in-person, face-to-face contact, you know, the bump in your mood and in your emotions and in your psyche from having a genuine connection in real life with another person versus getting, thousands or millions of likes on something in the digital world, they're two different currencies. The currency of real face-to-face interaction, even just on a chemical level, is so much greater than that in the digital world. And so it's so easy to get so caught up in this digital world that is real. It is a real sphere where people are really interacting, but it's not the same as human-to-human contact. This is something that can get lost when we really get caught up in social media being the place that we interact versus person, in real life. And this is something that I really love about, becoming a therapist. And I sit in a room with another human being we put all the distractions away and we are there to relate and to connect human to human. And it's something that doesn't happen as much as it used to throughout our days and throughout our life. And it's something that is so vital to helping us to really achieve that mental, emotional health. So it's something that I value hugely. And even doing this content and teaching things that I talk to my clients about this is a passion and I really enjoy this and I feel a connection here, but it isn't the same as sitting with a real human face to face. Okay, this is a huge one. Social media being a gigantic distraction and a big time suck. And so I was curious, like how much time statistically average, teenager, adult, what are they spending on social media? And it is a little bit shocking. So recent statistics say that the average teenager spends 3 full hours a day on social media apps. And I was expecting the adult one to be a lot lower, but adults are spending a little over 2 hours a day on social media. So just think about that time. 2 hours a day that you could be doing anything, right? 2 hours a day times, 365 days in a year. You could write a book. You could get a degree. You could get fit. You could learn to cook. There's a million things that you could do in that time. And it's just little chunks of time that add up. And so, when we look back over our year and we think like, what did I accomplish? What growth did I have? And when we come up lacking, we're like, man, I could have done more. Like, where did the year go? And we can link it to our daily habits. And if we're spending hours a day on social media, which is time you'll never get back. And it's one of those things that it's easy to get into that habit, but when you step back and you really look at it, and if you need to scare yourself by tracking how much time you're on social media over the next week, and then doing the math and figuring out like, oh, wow, if I just only open social media for 10 minutes a day, or maybe I took a 30-day break from it, how much of my life would I get back? So these are the things that are really interesting to look at. And then there is the subject of addiction, right? And we know that going on social media, putting up a post, getting some likes, getting some affirmation from others, we do get some dopamine released. And this can be very addictive because it's a simple way to get some positive reinforcement, right? But again, it's external. So you're putting the power in someone else's hands and you're becoming addicted, or you could, again, not everybody gets this way, but it's very easy to start feeling dependent on it and to just getting into that habit loop of opening the app and checking and doing this like repetitive. And so this is something that we see a lot in the therapy office of, people who are finding themselves in a spiral of anxiety. And we look at, well, what do you do throughout your day? How many times are we opening this social media app? And then how can we tie this to how you feel, right? Really drawing these connections and opening your eyes to the bigger impact that the social media usage is having on your life. Okay, so FOMO. FOMO is a term that most people are familiar with, this fear of missing out. And what's crazy is that on a scientific level, what's happening to your nervous system when you experience FOMO, the part of your brain, your amygdala, is lighting up. Now, this is the part of your brain that signals danger. It's a very important part of your brain when you're, out and about and there's a lion that's coming along and you're going to have to like, whoa, danger, I got to do something to keep myself alive. It is proven that when you're scrolling social media and you experience that FOMO, that part of your brain, that amygdala is telling you like danger, fear. And so your nervous system starts giving you this sympathetic response. You start going into fight or flight. Your nervous system gets into the red. Now, when our nervous system is in the red, and we've talked a lot about this in previous episodes, we aren't able to enjoy or to really experience clear-headedness, to experience positive emotions because we're in the red and our brain is telling our body that there's something for us to be afraid of. And so that's FOMO. It's literal fear that courses through your body on a chemical level when you're scrolling social media and you are feeling that you should be doing something, you should have been invited to something, you should have that amazing vacation. You're putting your nervous system into the red. Now, there's a new term out there, which I really love. I just learned it, and it's called JOMO. And JOMO is the joy of missing out. And so JOMO, you can look at it as the opposite of FOMO. When you are experiencing the joy of missing out, you are immersed in what is physically in front of you. This is self-care, right? This is prioritizing this real world that's around you with your phone turned off. These social media apps are turned off and you're not thinking in the back of your mind, I need to take a picture and I need to post this because I need others to see how great this hike was or how amazing my self-care time was. That's not JOMO. JOMO is shutting all of that out and really just immersing yourself in your lived experience, being present in the moment. So this is something hopefully you'll toss that around in your mind and you'll think about it, right? You'll think about, what is my relationship with social media? Is social media something that is a positive in my life, that is helping me to experience greater levels of joy and helping me to experience better mental health and connect with others on a deeper level? Or would reducing my usage of social media really help reduce anxiety, improve my sleep, reduce depression, and help me to learn how to experience JOMO, just the joy of missing out and really experiencing what is right in front of you. So hopefully this has gotten you thinking, in some way, and helped you to really consider, do I need to change my social media usage? Am I fine? Is this something I'm going to come back to, think about later? But yeah, there's a lot of research and data, and it's going to continue to come out because, the world has changed with how much of people's lives and interactions are happening on these digital platforms. And so it's something that we can't avoid, especially those of us who really are looking to develop ourselves and are looking to continue to improve the way we feel and to improve the way we think and to have clarity. So this is something that I'm so happy that you joined me on this little talk today. And I'm hoping that you can come away from this with the goal of finding some balance. And so many things in our life come back to balance. Like, what is balance for you when it comes to social media? This whole subject really requires that you be honest with yourself and that you're able to take a step back from the way that you interact with social media to really analyze how it's impacting you on these different levels. So I hope this has been useful. I appreciate you watching and sharing your thoughts. Please like, subscribe, and I will be back next week with another message.
Thanks for watching Developing Potential with Diana Keuilian.